Welcome, welcome. It is Wednesday, September 13th. Thank you for joining us for another Wisecrack Live. We'll be with you in just a moment.
Hey, what's up, everyone? It's Wednesday, September 13th. It is 2 days after September 11th. Without being disrespectful, if we can maybe start by one who's sharing where we were on September 11th, 2001. But this is Wisecrack Live. If you've never been here before, this is a stream. We hang out. It's me. My name is Michael Burns. If you have been on this channel before, you probably know who I am. And I'm joined by our good buddy, producer Henry, live from Austin, Tejas. So we're just going to talk about stuff and hang out today. We have the best chat in the business. So shout out to everyone who is, let me turn these phones up. Shout out to everyone who is already in the chat, hanging out. Really appreciate you all. People like Urinator and Michael and Dominic and Penny and Hector and Natasha and Nelson. Always Nelson. Nelson, I think, is probably still all-time captain, Lord of the chat. Good to see you all here. If you see green usernames and you think to yourself, why do they get to have that? Why don't I get to have that? This isn't fair. It's because they are subscribers, members of the channel. You can do that too. It's relatively cheap. It's dumb and fun. And if you want to, you can gift them to people, which makes you the Lord of the chat. So maybe consider it. Oh, it's Callie's birthday? Amazing. Happy birthday, Callie. Big fan of Callie. Love Callies. I'm married to a Callie. Big shout outs to all the Callies out there. Son Harris is here. Aaron's here. Let's see. Hector's here. A lot of folks are here. Good to see him. 9/11. I was in 11th grade English with Dr. Simmons, and I walked into class late. Believe it or not, I was a pretty bad student in high school. And I walked into class late and I made a joke. Again, guys, this is the early 2000s. A joke about ball sweat really loud. And then Miss Dr. Simmons screamed at me to shut up and then pointed to the TV and shit was going down. So that's where I was on 9/11. Penny was at work in a podunk city in Illinois. State Farm. Yeah, man. State Farm's the target. Yeah. So, and Penny's bringing out that they thought they'd be a target. The case is here from work. Moises was a toddler. Let's see. Yeah, gift memberships show that you care. The worst part about 9/11 for me is that I had worked up the courage to ask out a young woman that I had a crush on. She was on the volleyball team, and I was more of like this is going to shock you guys too, like a weird, artsy, nerdy person. So to ask out a girl on the volleyball team, I was really going for it. And then she says yes. And I was a romantic guy, so I figured we'd get some frozen yogurt. And then 9/11 happened, and my dad was like, "You can't go on a date. It's dangerous." And I was like, Dad, do you legitimately think that ISIS is out to get me and Brittany Kaus of the volleyball team? Do you think that was their next target? Do you think in the cave, Osama bin Laden is like, and next up, Michael Burns and a date where he might hope to hold a hand if he's lucky. But there you go. It was a weird time though, 9/11. I don't know if anyone else. So someone was, Slow King was in 8th grade in the class. Clown was crying. Momentous Morai was in 2nd grade. Alejandro was a twinkle in their father's eyes. Moises says, imagine ball sweat being the last thought you have if your normalcy was disrupted. Logan Reed's school wasn't allowed to tell them what was going on. So then I got in trouble in school because I was on, this is going to surprise you as well, because I know your vision of me is like a, classic jock football type. But as a member of the high school newspaper staff, our newspaper teacher, who is the person who taught me what weed smelled like, because she was this cool old stoner lefty person at our Florida high school, she was like, you guys got to get out there. This is a story we got to cover, because the Oviedo high school newspaper really needed to be on the story. So we were like running around the school interviewing people, and I went to interview the AP history teacher about the historical relevance of the thing, and then the principal, who was a dick, huge dick. I think he's dead now, and I'm fine with it. That was mean to say, but I did it. Um, he got mad at us and said it was inappropriate. And then our journalism teacher was like, "It's never inappropriate to seek the truth." Hassan was in kindergarten. Um, Offset wasted checking in from a cat cafe job. That's pretty cool. Damn, Mr. Cynic was in NYC. That's insane. That's very, very tough. Hector watched it on the news. Dara Johnson's mom would let him go outside. Yeah, it was tough. And then I was in high school in Orlando, Florida, and then everyone was like, they're going to get Disney next. And it's like, I don't know, guys. I think we should be cautious, but if I'm looking at patterns here, I do not see how Disney would be a target. Where were you on the original 9/11, Henry?
Is that thing that happened in Chile?
No, it's a different one.
Oh,
The
I was.
American one.
Oh, I was in sixth grade, but I was like on the bus. The way time zones work, it happened off screen for me. I remember getting on the bus and then getting off at school and other people talking about it and getting ushered into like our first class, which was math. And like seeing like the post reporting on it, but yeah, it was kind of it was kind of a surreal, just like, oh, this happened. I also remember being like, we're going to war. Yeah, I was at a very weird age as far as like, not really quite. I was on the verge of comprehending what it meant, but I was still kind of a kid at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I remember my cousins having a bit more fear and anxiety in them as far as like terrorism stuff goes and traveling and all that. But like, I don't know. To me, it was just like, oh, that thing happened, and now everybody's super militant about this shit and what is going on.
Yeah. For Logan, it was picture day. Wow. Sad pictures. Christopher Pierce, also an 11th grader. Christopher, I've known we've had a lot in common for a while, but now I know we were both 11th graders at the same time. Yeah, guys, it was an intense day here in America. And as Henry brings up, thinking that like we're going to war, it was totally a time of like politicization / political awareness. So where I lived, and this is when I think it was the same a lot of places. And if you're from outside America and you haven't heard about this, people were doing shit like, so when we decided to go to war, some countries like France were like, no. And then our response to that at a lot of restaurants in America was to rename French fries Freedom Fries and like Freedom Toast rather than French Toast and all this dumb shit. Also, fries are Belgian and not French, but whatever. And like there was this overwhelming resurgence of patriotism. Toby Keith, the country singer, put out this song about how we'd put a boot in your ass. It was the American way. It was this weird time. And I remember feeling like a lot of people I knew, and, they were kids, they were teenagers, kind of got swept up in it. I remember there was like those of us who felt like this was weird and bad, but you kind of couldn't say that. Like, I know, at least where I was in Florida, like it wasn't a thing you could really do, was be like, this seems bad. And I got in trouble because I wrote a column for the high school newspaper about why I thought it was weird and kind of creepy that all of a sudden everyone had American flags out everywhere, and that like patriotism in response to something like this and like an enthusiasm about war seems to be missing the point, and people got really mad at me. So yeah, Gory says the French were right though. Canadified says shout out to Canada for saying hell with that, or at the same time I was finishing high school. Did me a solid there. Logan brings up they wanted to rename the French Quarter in New Orleans. Rachel's another member of the 2003 gang, as is Rory Gilmore from Gilmore Girls. I've recently realized. But yeah, it was a weird time, and like things have never. I don't know, Henry. What do you think? I feel like things have never been the same since then.
Yeah, I don't remember specifically which anniversary it was, but I remember I was at a Big Lots for I just needed some little piece of houseware, like paper plates or something probably, and just at Big Lots there being a we commemorate 9/11 display, and it's just a bunch of like throwaway paper plates and stuff and all that, just like decked out in American flag regalia, and just thinking like I just that weird like distance of time from like something I remember as a kid, everybody being like, never forget, this is a sacred thing, and like the quick commercialization of it over not even like multiple decades, but literally like from me going from like a 13, like a 9-year old to like a 17-year old, like just no one took it seriously as like a holiday, or like even it as like a preface for like invading Iraq and the weapons of mass destruction, everything that followed that. Like I don't know, it was clearly such a case of management lying to everyone else about why we're doing stuff, and I just feel that's like marked millennials as a generation as far as like how they interact with and perceive authority.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely undermined any semblance that millennials especially had, that there was a honor, truth, dependability of political leaders. We just saw them lying to us in real time.
Yeah.
Steven in the chat was in the military, so that had to be an incredibly insane time, and we're glad you are still here, Steven. I said they went from a peacetime army ready to invade in a hot second. Someone brought up, Wam Kim, that the Dixie Chicks got canceled because at a concert in London they said like fuck George Bush, or George Bush wasn't their president and didn't represent Texas or something like that. I mean, just a couple other things, and we'll get off the 9/11 stuff. Let's see. Taylor says my story can fix the justice system. Help. I don't know, man. Maybe it can, but that sounds kind of extreme. I feel like to fix the justice system, there'd have to be some legislative stuff going on. Dude Abide says the first time I could recognize that the government could respond in a way that feels detrimental down the road, i.e., the Patriot Act. Yeah, that's bad. Damn, 20 years of war. I'm just glad Steven's with us, man. I'm glad you made it through that. A couple just random things post 9/11. My favorite thing that happened post 9/11, I've talked about this before. I'm too obsessed with this, you guys. Is Mark Wahlberg saying in an interview that he was supposed to be on one of the flights, and if he was on the plane, it wouldn't have happened. I talk about this too much. And I can tell you guys this now because I don't believe that anything's ever going to happen with this thing, because the entertainment industry is dying. But I wrote this animated pilot once called Wahlberg 9/11, and the premise of the animated pilot was it was a world where Mark Wahlberg was working with a secret sect of scientists at the Vatican, deeply Catholic scientists, who were sending Mark Wahlberg back in time to stop other things like 9/11. He never solved any of them. It's one of my favorite things I've ever written. When I was writing it, I was just laughing really hard. But it's really just the thing that me and 5 other people would find really funny. And you can steal that idea because no one's ever going to make anything ever again. Someone said Seth MacFarlane as well. And also in the chat, someone brought up that Jimmy World had a record called Bleed American come out. My favorite band, Wilco, was supposed to have an album come out that day that had like a song called Ashes of American Flags and a lyric about tall buildings that shake. So it's wild. There's a lot of stuff that happened. There's a lot of weird stuff there. But I don't know. We can talk about 9/11 again next year. But hey, guys, it's Wisecrack Live. Thanks for being here. It's Michael and Henry. Again, this is me sort of slowly waiting. Oh, Christopher Maverick,
Chris
PhD,
Maverick.
doctor, and professor's here. Good to see you. I'm kind of waiting my ways back in the water. How we get in touch, I can email, just look for me. Taylor Cooper, I just don't know what I can do. Because again, I'm just a guy streaming on YouTube with 289 people hanging out. I don't think I can help you. I don't think I have a reach like that, But hey, there you go. Fahrenheit 9/11 from fellow Michigander Roger Moore. Dude Abides, I went to see that movie opening night, and there was people like protesting it at my suburban mall. Chris says, walking in on we can talk about 9/11 next year is a vibe. Michael, we need that shirt so bad. Someone said the email is at the top of my screen. Oh yeah, Taylor Cooper's account. There is an email at the top of the screen, Wisecrack Live 666. Okay, so what we want to talk about a little bit today has to do with bosses and the owners of industry and finance and the means of production and how they want you and me to suffer and die.
If we're
Now you might
talking
be
about
thinking,
9/11, we're talking about harvesting pain for profit. So I think it's in theme with the rest of what we got for today.
yeah. And again, yeah, it does relate to 9/11, yeah, because in, you know, 9/11 inaugurated a period of American history where we realized that uh, our country as a whole, or leaders of our country, were comfortable with others they didn't have to look in the eyes suffering if it benefited them in terms of power, economics, access to oil, and stuff like that. And we're seeing some of that these days. Argam says, "I'm about to quit my job. I hope that it goes okay. I hope you can quit your job and
Best
have
of
something
luck.
else to do." Yeah. And there's some other stuff we'll talk about today, friends. We can maybe quickly talk about the Jimmy Fallon thing that broke. Surprise, guys! Surprise, guys! Jimmy Fallon is a fucking prick. But I think we've known he's like a drunk for a while, which happens. Um, but yeah, how can we? Oh, go ahead.
Penny
You just
Waldrop in the
oohed.
chat just mentioned that the Marvel VFX workers voted to unionize, and I'm saying, yeah, 2 hours ago. So cool, good on them.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, guys, we have a video coming out soon. It's kind of on a Marvel movie, but it's also kind of on how data and algorithmic analysis is potentially ruining our ability to make and consume art. So, watch that when it comes out. Thank you, Michael, for resending that. I've been bad about the email, but I'm going to look at it today. So there you go. And if you're here, how did I see? This is how out of stream shape I am, guys. Um, Yeah, Taylor Cooper, we appreciate it. But like we can try. Like email us, we try. I'm just once again saying that people get me confused with Rachel Maddow, but I do not have her reach. Um what was I gonna say? Oh, now if I was in stream shape and I'd been doing this for a while and didn't take 2 months off, I would have already said, please like the stream. It helps us a lot if you do. So please like this stream if you like it. Even if you don't, it would help us. So that'd be a cool thing to do. And as always, share it. Let people know. So we're starting at 11 today. I think our regular time, and it's going to be in flux. So I appreciate you all for being so flexible. Our regular time will probably be 10 a.m. Pacific on Wednesdays, but we're kind of getting back into it. So there you go. Narnarhead was painting before I was recommended this. Painting is very cool as well. We'll get into Jimmy Fallon stuff later. So is there a good way for us, Henry, to watch the financial review clip?
Yeah, I have the tweet right here. I can just pull it up on screen and play it back for us.
Cool. Will I be able to hear the audio?
I don't believe so.
Cool. I'll play it on my end. And then I pulled up the financial review article as well, which just has a couple of the quotes. Yeah. How about this I'm gonna just
Yeah, let's try syncing the play button.
yeah. So and we'll just play the whole thing. But let me know when you play. I'll try to hit it at the same time so I can at least hear everything around the same time as everyone else. 2, 1.
I think the problem that we've had is that we have people decided they didn't really want to work so much anymore through COVID, and that has had a massive issue.
People
on
didn't want to work through
tradies have definitely pulled back on productivity. They have been paid a lot to do not too much in the last few years, and we need to see that change. We need to see unemployment rise. Unemployment has to jump 40-50% in my view.
Jesus.
We need to see pain in the economy. We need to remind people that they work for the employer, not the other way around. I mean, there's been a systematic change where employees feel the employer is extremely lucky to have them, as opposed to the other way around. So it's a dynamic that has to change. We've got to kill that attitude, and that has to come through hurting the economy, which is what the whole global, the world is trying to do. The governments around the world are trying to increase unemployment to get that to some sort of normality. And we're seeing it. I think every employer now is seeing it. I mean, there is definitely massive layoffs going off. People might not be talking about it, but people are definitely laying people off, and we're starting to see less arrogance in the employment market, and that has to continue because that will cascade across the cost balance.
Okay, guys, summary of what was just said. We can just sit in that for a second. This fucking Aussie prick just said that I assume most of us in this chat are workers that do wage labor, and not the captains of industry. But if you're here and you're a captain of industry, hey, glad to have you here. But yeah, he basically just said, during COVID, we got lazy and entitled and had the misguided belief that our employers work for us, that they're lucky to have us. It's the other way around. We should be groveling for the crumbs at the bottom of the master's table like little dogs, and they should intentionally increase unemployment so that we become increasingly desperate and realize that we are in fact wage slaves. It's pretty bad. I mean, I think that in one sense, there's something that it's nice to see someone just say it, right? Like, this is what a lot of these people think. They just don't say it. I think especially in America, people couch this in language of efficiency and leanness and a grind set and a commitment to a team and da 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 da. And he's just saying it in really structural terms, you know? But yeah, it really sucks. Let me look. Hold on. There's some of the quotes. Yeah, I said, in my view, we need to see pain in the economy. We need to remind people that they work for the employer, not the other way around. When there's been a systematic change where employees feel the employer is extremely lucky to have them as opposed to the other way around, we got to kill that attitude. He says we must kill that attitude. And he says the growing rate of unemployment was promising as layoffs started to translate to less arrogance in the employment market. I mean, this motherfucker really wants us just like in the bread line or something like that. And I guess he also, let's see, he also talked about the rental market. Oh no, and real estate people might not be okay. Oh no, what if the real estate people aren't okay? But guys, it's pretty wild. It's pretty wild people to say this. Julia says increasing unemployment would be bad for the economy. No, but here's the point, right? I think people use the language of the economy in a way where they don't really mean it, right? Because is the point here to have a strong economy, or is the point here to have a class structure in which a small number of people have a large amount of control over the material conditions of the rest of us, right? And I kind of think like that's the thing, like Hassan Harris just said, he's confirming that the system isn't broken, it's doing his job. Because if we think about the economy being strong, I mean, the economy was doing well technically at a period during COVID when, at least in America, some of us were getting like checks from the government and student loan payments were stalled. So there was more consumer spending, So Logan says economy equals shareholders. I mean, here's the thing too, right? Like with people like this, Natasha says, that's a guy who thinks that slavery was a good idea. I mean, basically, right? Because,
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about it this way, and I'm going to be I'm going to risk inelegance here. So I ask any of you who know me to give me some grace if I get slightly inelegant in what I'm about to say. But a person like that would probably never say that the system of slavery we had in the past was good or moral. But these same people would be comfortable saying that human beings must be in a condition where they have to be forced to exchange their labor power for the raw material conditions of existence. These are people who do not want employment to be free. They don't want your subjectivity as a worker to be marked by a freedom to exchange your labor power for money on the market. They want us to be, and I don't want to be, uh, at all insensitive and inappropriate by saying they want us to be slaves, but they do want us to be um, forced and coerced into a
Immiserated.
type of labor relation that benefits them. Um, Is that you get what I'm saying there,
Yeah,
Henry? I'm
he's
just trying to
explicitly using
avoid
the word.
inelegance.
Yeah, he's explicitly using the word pain as, just that is the acceptable method of coercion and what the economy needs. It's not even talking in terms of profit. It's literally like choke down and do the harm.
Yeah, Chris Maverick says, I don't know, man. He struck me as the kind of guy who might say, no one ever talks about all the good parts of slavery. I mean, like an Australian might say that. Here, I'm going to pull something up and I'll send you the link. Also, I want to we should look at some more stuff about, oh my God. Okay, guys, I'm just pulling up some stuff. I'm going to send some links over to Henry. I think some of the stuff might be interesting. Because now I want to dive a little bit deeper. Guys, I am the captain now. So I sent you one link, Henry, so we can maybe like start with this because I'm curious to see. I haven't read it yet. AOC's response, and then it's not letting me look at. Did the Gerner Group take down their website? Oh my God! Sorry, I was trying to look. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say I was finding it difficult to find clips off of Twitter as far as like the Gerner stuff goes. So it feels like there's some cleanup going on there.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to send you another thing we can look at as well. It does seem so. I do know that the Gerner guy, I saw this just from a cursory Google, is like an investor and a part of like anti-aging technology. It's always the worst people that want to live forever, guys. It's always. Oh, I sent you this fortune thing, and I think I realized we can't look at it because it's unless we do like the 10-foot wall or whatever it's called thing. Okay. Oh, actually, it's letting me see the fortune thing now. So maybe it'll show up for you in a second. Let's just see. Okay. So the Guardian thing. AOC takes aim at multimillionaire Australian property developer who wants unemployment to jump. Let's see what she says. So a multimillionaire Australian property developer. Of course, it's a property developer. So again, someone who produces and fundamentally makes their wealth through commodifying housing. Hey, what's up, everyone? Glad to have you all here again. Oh, someone said they turned off their comments on their LinkedIn. That's amazing, Alex. Good to see you here. Again, if you're just tuning in, this is Wisecrack Live. Back after a break. Chris Maverick brings up, 12-foot ladder. Penny, sorry that you have back-to-back meetings. It happens. Yeah, he took it down in his LinkedIn. He did a fucking awesome. But yeah, guys, so we're getting to this by talking about this guy, this Australian from the Gerner Group who went viral for saying that he wants us all to be forced to crawl on our hands and knees in the labor lines. So AOC said, reminder that major CEOs have skyrocketed their own pay so much that the ratios of CEOs to worker pay is now some of the highest levels ever. It's fair. It says Gerner, the founder of Australian company Gerner Group, told the Property Summit that we need to see pain in the economy. So yeah, we already have all these quotes. So it says Gerner, whose company holds a portfolio reportedly worth more than 9.5 billion in Australian dollars, which I don't know if those are real currency. Told the Australian Financial Review's Property Summit that people decided they didn't really want to work so much anymore, yada, yada, yada. Let's see. I'm seeing if there's any other thing about him. So it's drawn fierce reaction in Australia. It's not the first time his comments have come under fire. In 2017, Gerner made comments in an interview with 60 Minutes that implied young Australians can't afford to buy property because they're wasting money on avocado toast and coffee. Is he the guy that came up with that? Yeah, he said,
if he believes young people, historian
when
who can clear that.
Yeah. Let's see. When he was asked during the interview if he believes young people will never, he responded, absolutely. When you're spending 40, I'm not going to do it. I tried to do an Australian accent. I can't do it. $40 a day on smashed avocados and coffees and not working, of course. These fucking guys. Let's see. I don't know. People, should we just be like real sickos and just run the clip back one more time? This guy, just because. Yeah, pull up again. I know some people are just kind of tuning in right now, so we'll watch this again. So that everyone can see it. 1 second, and I'm gonna 12-foot ladder this article myself, because I love to steal. Okay, give me 1 second. Oh, Ian said I was trying to be Kiwi. Yeah, I think it was more of a Kiwi. I think I consume more content that is made by New Zealanders because they do so much fun comedy stuff. I know Australians probably aren't awake right now too, so I will say if our Australian friend who I know watches this after the fact sometimes, um, Aoife watches this, know that you're the good Australian and we like you. Okay, you ready?
I think the problem that we've had is that we have people
Slick
decided
back
they
hair,
didn't really want to
motherfucker.
work so much anymore through COVID, and that has had a massive issue on productivity.
Guy's got a lot of forehead.
Tradies have
You can
definitely
be
pulled back
mean
on
to okay.
productivity.
You can
They
physically
have
roast
been paid a lot
a white
to
male
do not
billionaire.
too
That's the
much in the
rule.
last few years, and we need to see that change. We need to see unemployment rise. Unemployment has to jump 40-50% in my view. We need to see
Let the
pain in the
anger
economy.
rise
We
in
need
you,
to
friends.
remind people that they work for the employer, not the other way around. I mean, there's been a systematic change where employees feel the employer is extremely lucky to have them, as opposed to the other way around. So it's a dynamic that has to change.
You guys know what
We've got to
curb
kill that
stomping is?
attitude, and that has to come through hurting the economy, which is what the whole global,
Just saying.
the world
saying.
is trying to do. The
They have
governments
curbs in
around the world
Australia?
are trying to increase unemployment to get that to some sort of normality.
Meathead?
And we're seeing it. I think every employer now is seeing it. I mean, there is definitely massive layoffs going off. People might not be talking about it, but people are definitely laying people off, and we're starting to see less
Hypothetically,
arrogance in the
how good
employment
would it feel to
market,
slap
and that
this
has
guy?
to continue because that will cascade across the cost balance.
Oh boy. So there you go. So if you're just tuning in, this is the young man we're talking about. I wonder how old he is. This is the thing too. I feel like he looks about my age or a little older. Although if he's one of those guys who's obsessed with human aging, like aging reversal, he probably has a blood boy or something. So there you go. Someone said, yeah, and again, guys, like I'm pretty comfortable with punching up. In general, I like to have, we talk about this, right? We don't have political values on Wisecrack Live, but we believe two things. We should have empathy for everyone and that everyone deserves a good life. And sometimes I am like the sort of person who I do struggle to have empathy for are the type of people that have no empathy for anyone and actively want us to have a bad life. And that guy's literally just saying that. So like, I hope that he realizes that he's evil at some point, and I hope that he gets better, but he's pretty bad. He's pretty bad. Narnar had said, "Oh, now you're gonna start hating on people with blood boys." I know, guys. I'm getting really extreme. Wow. Okay, so let's look at this article now. So this is an article was it from Fortune by Nicholas Gordon. So we're at least we're attributing the article to the right person. So it's not every day that you see a CEO arguing for a worse economy. That's what Tim Gurner, founder and CEO of Australian luxury real estate company, the Gurner Group, tried to do at an Australian Financial Review conference on Tuesday. Once the Australians do watch this after the fact, in the comments, let us know like what's the vibe in Australia these days. I know almost nothing about Australia. So let us know what the vibe is. Candified said, I'm willing to draw the empathy line at people who commit huge social crimes. Yeah, that's good. Coulter DeWitt said, as a functional alcoholic, I would feel completely unethical being a talk show host. Was that a random apropos nothing confession, or was the implication something about this guy? I don't know. Let's see. Taylor Cooper said, I'm going to use Culture Binge. I don't know if that email goes anywhere. Taylor Cooper, if you're still trying to email us, icecracklive666@gmail.com. Okay, so he goes on, once again, just the quotes we already said. We need to see pain. We want unemployment to jump. He also complained about tradies, workers who practice a trade. Oh my God, so he just took a shot at laborers. When he said that word before, I thought maybe he meant like trad wives and trad husbands, people that dress in old timey clothes. And it was the one thing I kind of agreed with him on. Where I was like, you know what? Yeah, tradies are annoying, but no. let's see. So yeah, he hates workers. I think they've pulled back on productivity. So who is Tim Gurner? He's the head of the Gurner Group, real estate company founded in 2013. According to the company's website, they have a development and management portfolio with 9.5 billion. They do luxury. Okay, this is the good stuff. This is the good stuff. The firm primarily focuses on luxury homes and property management. Also dabbles in private social clubs, with one offering anti-aging services. Guys, these motherfuckers have. Okay, I'm gonna send another link to Henry because I think we might be kind of going down a rabbit hole today. So everyone just tuck in, and we might need a 12-foot ladder. The thing I just sent you as well. But I'll go back to this one, guys. Private. Let's just get like a private social club for billionaires where they work on anti-aging services. This is the stuff from dystopian films and literature, guys. James said no one will ever fix his toilet again. Someone says the empathy line is the opposite of the poverty spine. Someone says imagine a world without CEOs. I learned what tradies are from Bluey. I'll have to start watching Bluey soon because I got the kid now. And everyone says that's the good kid show. If you're just tuning in, please like the stream. It helps us a lot. And it means we love you. Dead Card says that they have to be literal vampires. Yeah, man. And someone brought up Peter Thiel vibes. For sure. Awesome. Will you shoot me the link to the 12-foot ladder when you get it to us? No rush. But yeah, there's someone. I'm going to say too much real quick, guys. There's someone who has done some work with Wisecrack in the past that wanted to continue doing things with us. And they run an anti-aging thing. And I just like refused because I think that's psychotic. And it caused some issues. It definitely got to the point where I had to say things in meetings like, let them sue us then. Because I don't think anyone actually will sue. That'll come back and get me one day. Okay, so this guy's net worth is $584 million. Imagine having $584 million and being like, plumbers and electricians are pieces of shit that should starve. Imagine having $584 million and being like, people that eat toast with a fruit on it are bad. Imagine having $584 million and being like, I want unemployment to go up so the workers will suck my dick for money or something like that. It's horrible. It's horrible. Tradies. Someone brought that up. Oh, House of Tradies. Nice. It's not the first time. So they're bringing up his avocado. He says, when I was trying to buy my first home, I wasn't buying smashed avocados. Da, da, da. What a prick. He says the people that own homes today worked very, very hard for it. Saved every dollar. While younger Australians want to eat out every day. They want to travel in Europe every year. I mean, again, like, teleologically, right? Guys like this are presupposing a worldview in which what you should be doing is working really hard at the expense of everything else for the sake of taking out a mortgage on a home. And to be clear, when you take out the mortgage, you don't own a house. The bank owns a house. And if you pay the bank for 25 years, then you get the house. I just think we really overrate these sorts of things. I'm sure some of you are homeowners and love to own a home. I'm not saying that's bad, but you know, the way in which we've made that the teleological goal, the ethical good of all modern life seems weird. And I think in America, I know I'm picking on Australia a little bit, but it's definitely, I swear to God, if this is clickbait to get views, Dord, we're not clickbaiting. Clickbaiting. We're having a real conversation, I promise. But like, in America, a lot of very good, nice people would say like that. What's life about? Like working hard, taking care of your family. Da, da, da. But I just think about. I'll tell a personal story, guys. Get ready for personal story time. So, my father, who's no longer with us, worked. His whole life worked really hard. When I was a kid, he worked a job where he would be out of town a lot. I didn't get to see him very much. And when he was older, and I was, we were old enough to drink a beer together, he basically said to me that like he kind of regretted spending all these years of his life just like working to like buy shit and make sure we could have a house and go on vacations or whatever. Cause he looked back and was just like, would have been nice to spend more time with you guys. You know, he would always talk about how he wished that maybe he would have just been a high school English teacher and basketball coach rather than, you know, what he did with his life. And it made me like real sad to hear that. And I do think that happens for a lot of folks that are kind of indoctrinated by people who often have very good intentions to value a certain way of life and deposit a certain way of life as fundamentally ethical. Um, but then, you know, where does that really take you? You know? Um, yeah. Let's see. Just catching up on chat. My dad is Harry Chapin. Yes. Liz, that is weird. My dad was a great songwriter. Oh, that song crushes me. Uh, let's see. And someone's bringing up home ownership association. Yeah, but I don't know. And I think that like we take that logic for granted. And again, if you're someone who's like, I don't know, those are my values. I am not saying that they are just like that. We shouldn't be able to posit that as an option for an ethical life view. What I'm simply saying is, it seems like a teleological way of approaching the world that we don't question, that we don't interrogate and ask like, well, why? And of course, like under capitalism, we can't all just, you know, tap out of society and live on a commune and braid each other's fucking hair and sing songs and read books. But still, Chris Maverick says English teachers should be billionaires, no one else. But I'm all for giving $1 billion to everyone who teaches English ever. I know we often have some Danes here, and you know, something I was reading, and this might not be like true. Oh my God, Garrett. Garrett said, are you available for an interview on streamer audience dynamics for yes. Garrett, thank you. I don't go on Twitter that much anymore since they kicked me off and I just have my one tiny account now. Yes, Garrett, I'm gonna try to get back to you. Feel free to tweet at me again. Also, we have an email address. Wisecracklive666 at Gmail. You hit that up. I don't want to say my normal email in case you freaks send me weird emails. But in a book I was reading about like happiness and parenting in other countries and stuff, there was this example. I think I mentioned this before, from Denmark, and it was about their tax rate. And because their tax rate rises so steeply as you make more money, at a certain point, it almost doesn't make sense to have some super nice job, because if you have a lower paying job, you're taxed less. If you have a high paying job, you're taxed like 90% anyway. So who cares? Oh, that makes sense. I'm kind of just rambling now. Tara Johnson says, absolutely would send you weird emails. So I want to look at this complaining bosses section of this article. If anyone has boss complaints too, feel free to share them. You know, my main boss is not in this office today, but people who have a say over my livelihood are in this physical space that I'm in, not in my little box, but they're here. So I better keep my fucking mouth shut. But when someone said, would you be for the democratization of workplace through legislation? Yeah, workplaces should totally be democratic. Taylor, thank you for that. James Guy, totally agree. Just catching up on the chat because I like it. James does want a hair braiding based economy. Matthew gave me permission to ramble. Okay, so back to this article. Complaining bosses. Gurman's blunt complaints about arrogant workers may win sympathy from other business leaders. In April, the CEO of office equipment company Miller Knoll, Andy Owen, told employees to stop worrying about bonuses in an internal meeting. Oh, we watched this, but this is good. This is good. Spend your time and your effort thinking about the 26 million we need and not thinking about what you're going to do if you don't get a bonus, all right? And an employee should leave Pity City. Jesus Christ. Guys, here's another thing. If you have ever been in a job where a boss of any sort has told you that, sorry, we got to freeze raises, bonuses, you know, no one's going to get paid more for a while. I guarantee you the person who is telling you that has gotten a bonus in the past 3 months. I guarantee you the person who is telling you that has a salary at least 10 times yours. And again, if your company is not making money, and you're someone like me, oh, Coulter, thank you so much for becoming a member. Really appreciate it. But most of us, right, who are, and again, I'm making assumptions about you. So if any of these assumptions are so far off, just let me know. But I'll say for people like Henry and myself, I'm going to speak for Henry here, and you can tell me. People like Henry and myself, if companies we work for lose money, it's not because of us. Like, we are not making the large scale decisions that would lead to huge gains or losses. But we are the sort of people, many of you are the sort of people who, if people that make a lot more than us make the decisions that lead to a company being unprofitable, we are the ones who suffer for that. Right? That's just how it goes. Sorry, I'm getting too base. There's gonna be comments like, I used to love this channel when it was a guy in alien makeup talking about movies, and now this sucks. Okay. I don't know, man. There you go. Okay, let's get back to, so Owen apologized for her comment. They went. She later told Fortune CEO that social media allowed a few negative people to amplify and take things out of context. It was a long video. We didn't take it out of context. And that the experience reinforced her view of bringing people back together in person. I love that. This is so good, guys. This lady's a genius. She apologized for those comments and used it as a way to pivot to bring people back together in person and force her employees to go back to the office. That's genius. I really appreciate that. JISBMX says, like Afro Man said, everyone will get their job at the same time. That's fun. Let's see. Yeah, Lucy Maybe says, oh yes, my ex-boss. I can't give you a raise. Also, my ex-boss has new car, motorbike, and house. Yeah. Michael, I think both can be true. I mean, I miss Earthling Cinema too. So, to be clear, I don't think it sucks. I really like the stuff that we used to do. It just costs too much money, guys. It costs too much money. Because money is hard. Let's see. Then in May, my guy, my main man, my spiritual icon, Tesla CEO Elon Musk, complained that workers who wanted remote needed to get off their goddamn moral high horse. Yeah, this guy likes Nazis. In an interview with CNBC, Musk argued that remote employees enjoyed unfair privileges that other workers didn't yet. You're going to make people who make your food that gets delivered, they can't work from home. Fucking logic here. Despite the loud rhetoric from some CEOs, the remote work debate between bosses and workers may be settling to a truce. Over 80% of Fortune 500 companies tracked by remote work platform Scoop are settling into a hybrid work system. A lot of the coverage and discussion is on the CEOs who are pushing really hard on full-time and office. I saw this dumb interview with Michael Bloomberg over the weekend where he talked about how, like, people have to work in an office. Is anyone in chat, I'm just curious about this, been forced back into an office? Thanks, Offset Wasted. Yeah, Natasha brings up work, being a mutually beneficial situation. Leah brings up that, the family dynamic that happens sometimes. Someone said, as I missed, no, Michael, you haven't missed it. We have not gotten back to 666 in our 2 streams back yet. Someone said audio's cutting out. Audio's a bit choppy. Well, what are we going to do? Yeah, Steven says working in a socialist company is awesome. U.S. military. I mean, this is the funniest thing too, right? Is like many people that work in the U.S. government, like the literal government, like House and Senate and things of that nature, and the military will be like the most anti-socialist people ever. Guys, Congress and Senate, they're just going like a vacation for 2-3 weeks at a time. They have a really good pension. They have really good benefits. Like, they have all of these good things, but they just don't want you to have them. So there you go. Natasha's completely remote. There you go. Moises said road to 666. Liz was forced back to the office. Took early retirement. The financial was so worth it. That's amazing, Liz. That makes me very happy. Because I don't know. I want you to be happy. We all want you to be happy. And that sounds really great. Let's see. And James brings up a COVID surge. Oh yeah, we had a big COVID scare in my house last week. Oh boy. Okay, so go ahead, Henry.
Oh no, just agreeing on the COVID surge being very real.
Yeah. If anyone cares about this stuff, and like, listen, if you don't care about this, that's fine. But I feel like this stuff doesn't get publicized that much. At least in America, you can get appointments now to get the updated booster thing. So, if you're a person who is vulnerable, I'm not a political influencer, but I can be a public health influencer. You can make appointments now at like CVS to get the COVID booster. So, something you can do if you want to. Henry is a welder, and no one in his shop gives a shit about anyone who works from home. Derek's wearing a mask at work now. Black is coal. Worked at home for 2 years, caved to investor pressure. Investors do be like that. Oh, Steven said they took the pension away from the young guys. That sucks. Let's see. Now, Mr. Cynic, this is a good point. Let's talk about work from home for a second. We're bouncing around, but welcome to the Wisecrack Live, the stream sponsored by unmedicated ADHD. Actually, this is medicated, guys. You would not want to see unmedicated. Mr. Cynic says, I really think work from home is a bad idea because employers will breach the border between your workplace and your home and start brutally invading, restricting your life. I think this is true. And this is why sometimes I feel like I'm a bad person, because when people get into the work from home debate, I think there's a value. The biggest value of like office work is the idea that you don't take your work home with you. And I know the work from home thing sometimes sucks into my life where I'm just working on and off all day. Gabe O'Neill's office is addressing the COVID surge by putting wet wipes on desks. There you go, because that worked the first time. You can't decide to get your flu shot at the same time. Yeah, why not? Why not, guys? Why not get some shots? Derek Envy said, what are you taking for ADHD? Hey, I like to overshare. Concerta. I take Concerta for ADHD when it is available. Dig Dug said, another booster is going to make COVID less harsh when I catch it again like last time. I guess that's the deal. Let's see. Like I need the symptom mitigation. Checking on stuff. Okay, cool. So I want to look at this article now about the anti-aging private social club. So the motherfucker. Oh, yeah, you sent it to me, the 12-foot ladder one. The one from Financial Review. Yeah. Inside Rich. Yeah. But yeah, also, I'm in someone's in the Vyvanse gang. So Vyvanse, I feel like, is like the real fancy ADHD med. Nice. I'm trash because my psychiatrist never even offered me Vyvanse. He just looked at me and said, you white trash motherfucker, here's your Concerta. As we approach the halfway mark, hey, Eddie Villanueva's here. Lovely artist, great person. Again, we're at the halfway point. It's Wisecrack Live. It's me, your friend, Michael Burns. I'm with your other friend, producer Henry. We're doing this again. Thanks for joining us. We're going to be back on a semi-regular schedule on Wednesdays. Things will be, there might be a little bit of variation until I'm fully back from my parental leave. Guys, did I tell you about how my companies tried to stop paying me because there was a mistake from the state of California on my parental leave stuff? So my last paycheck, they paid me $300. And I have a wife and a child, and I live in a really expensive place. And I was on calls all last week about it. It was really bad. I didn't just say that out loud. That was someone put an overdub there. I love corporations. They never try to do anything bad. But hey, glad you're here. A couple things before we get into this article where we learned about private social. If you want to be a member on our Wisecrack page, on our YouTube page, you can. It gives you a green username. You get access to emotes. Guys, we're supposedly getting new emotes. Before I went on leave, I gave a list of things to people. They're supposed to get made. I don't know. But you should get some new emotes. You get access to our Discord server. It's just a fun thing to do. And then you can gift them to other people, which is always fun. Thank you so much, Max. And thank you for those of you that are having some sense of solidarity with the thing that I said that may or may not have happened. Dominic, I keep thinking about that. And then I just wonder if I'm allowed to, but I could really use some more money because I haven't gotten a raise in such a long time. What was I gonna say? Boom. You can be a member of our YouTube page if you want. You can also join the Wisecrack Patreon if you want. Do I get that money? No, but still, it's a way to support our channel, and I think it helps us because it shows the company that we can make money from ways that aren't advertising products that you all hate. So consider checking out the Patreon. Henry will drop a link in the chat, but it's patreon.com/wisecrack. But we put extra. You get all the videos there, all the videos we make. You get them early. You get them without ads, so you can fight capitalism by giving us money directly and not having to watch the ads that you hate. We do some extra stuff there, some extra videos, some extra podcast. I haven't been doing the extra video content since I've been on leave, but we'll get back on that soon. You get access to our Discord server. My pitch on that is always a thing where if you like our content a lot and you watch our channel a lot and you have $5 to $10 US a month that you can stop spending on avocado toast and coffee, you entitled little babies. You could give it to us to support the channel, but you don't have to. I love you even if you don't. So just know that you are loved unconditionally. I'm glad that you're here. I like that you're here. So there you go. But consider it. And I think eventually we'll probably have some element of Wisecrack Live that's probably just going to be on the Patreon, and when that happens, some of you will be like, fuck you, you sell out. This should all be free. And I'll be like, you're right. It should be. We just got to make some money so that we keep our jobs, I try to keep our jobs. Moises brings up me pain chugging Mountain Dew. It was a horrible, horrible time of my life. You're a real wisecrack head if you know about me pain chugging Mountain Dew. So let's look at this article about Tim Gurner's Anti-Aging Private Social Club. That's a fun band name, Anti-Aging Private Social Club. So the immaculately presented rich lister, Tim Gurner, is standing and waiting with a towel as I step out of an ice bath, having just endured 15 minutes in a 100-degree sauna. Endured? I would pay money to go in a 100-degree sauna. That sounds pleasant. Jesus. My personal breathing coach. This article is already killing me. This article is making me die. This article is pro-aging. I'm actively aging as I read every line of this BS. My personal breathing coach, thank you so much, Dirkster. Steven, yeah, I'm realizing that kids just suck up money. My personal breathing coach, former professional rugby player Eugene Koning, has been leading me in a chant devised by Wim Hof, a Dutch extreme athlete known as the Iceman, before embracing me in a strong and long hug for the third time. What is happening here? So much just happened in those two sentences. The guy's getting into a tub. He's getting out of the sauna. A strong rugby man is breathing with him while hugging him. What are the rich doing, you guys? Admittedly, this was after Conan and I shared some intimate details about our lives in Gurner's meditation cave after I passed on I'm a spiritual healer. Okay. One of my favorite things is dudes like this. It's normally dudes or Gwyneth Paltrow who appropriate spiritual practices, usually from traditions that posit that spiritual subjectivity is something that transcends materiality and participation in economic matters and things of that nature. They take those spiritual practices, they take all of these things that are meant to get people to some state of spiritual transcendence and use them to become better business boys. Guys, they use them to become better business boys. It's like, oh, I use Buddhist practices. Buddhism, the thing about literally transcending material and economic relations and focusing on a spiritual state of nirvana. I use these things to help me make unemployment rates go up. It's insane. Even people, and it's one thing when people, Western white folks appropriating Eastern spiritual traditions and Eastern religions, because it involves a level of really annoying appropriation. And again, I'm not trying to be like a woke scold, but it's just understand what you're doing, kids. But, we even see this with, Christianity and stuff like that as well. A religion that posits an overwhelming emphasis on the poor, the oppressed, the alien, the widow, the orphan, to do the same sort of stuff. It's just so, okay, let's just keep going. I'm told I'll have to come back to try the cryotherapy, hyperbaric oxygen pods, red light therapy, IV drips, or take a cycle class with Tour de France yellow jersey holder, I'm going to say Simon Gerons, at Gurner's new private social club called Saint Haven in Melbourne's Collingwood. So it's even named like Saint Haven sounds like a parish church or something like
Saint
that.
Haven.
Oh my God, Moises' comment. I'll say the boat. I always say this word wrong. The Bodhisattva says, I got to kick the single mother out of her home. Moises, that might be comment of the day thus far. Wim Hof was on Goop Lab. Very woo-hoo. Sorry, just catching up. Breathist. You guys' comments are so good. Strong. Rugby man. Go ahead, Henry.
The mention of hyperbaric oxygen pods just brings to mind how many of these dudes, I wonder, are just like rich idiots who want to live in anime. Just as far as like, I'm maximizing my strength and my power and my spiritualness through all these gadgets and gizmos. They're just like superficial like recreations of things I saw in Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah. Bodhisattva. Thanks, Gabe O'Neill. Thanks for that pronunciation. I mean that genuinely. Curtis B said, I didn't think this was Wisecrack Live was about, but I'm into it. I don't know what it's about either. I'm still trying to figure it out, Curtis. This just, I don't know, business me harder, professor. So the picture right here, Tim Gurner receives a magnesium infusion at his well-being establishment, St. Haven in Collingwood, and he's surrounded by candles like he's at fucking mass. Oh, these people, man. Like, literally, these people want to achieve a state of spiritual enlightenment so they can just like watch the poor die. And I don't think I'm being that hyperbolic right here. Right? I don't think I'm being that hyperbolic. I'm not being that hyperbaric fucking chamber, but like they want spiritual enlightenment.
Yeah,
that focuses on their individual subjectivity at the expense of everyone else, right?
To what ends are they like ideologically? It's ultimately all just reaffirming like the dog eat dog game, like as far as like they just want to be like the top G or the top dog or the top winner on like a very, nature food chain. People die at the bottom of this thing, so I'm tough for surviving it mindset. Yeah.
Max brings up Wisecrack Gumbo. It is a sort of cosmic Wisecrack Gumbo.
I just think about like the unironic internalization of like inside of me there are two wolves. Like I'm a predator. Like I'm an alpha. Like I'm going to eat and destroy. And because I'm like the top destroyer, I'm the best.
Yeah. Chris, I think I see a difference between them and Gwyneth. I don't know if people in the chat are talking about that. I don't think, guys, you might murder me for this. I don't think Gwyneth Paltrow is people. But like, because again, and a lot of these people too, and this will come up later in the article, but like a lot of these same people that use these spiritual practices are the people that like go on retreats where they do like acid or DMT or whatever. Again, the point of so many of these spiritual or psychedelic practices is the dissolution of the ego and the eroding of the bounds of one's individual subjectivity so that one sees themselves less as a subjective actor in a competitive system, but as a part of some sort of symbiotic whole, whether that be a spiritual whole, a political whole, a social whole, a familial whole, a creative whole, a Harris whole. That's the point of these things. But instead, people use those practices to further wall off their own ego, their own subjectivity, and see everything outside of their subjectivity as objects to be exploited for their own material and economic gains. It allows them to further objectify all that is outside of their subjective apparatus. I don't love it.
Yeah, little space freckles put it nicely in the chat. They literally don't see people as checks notes people.
Yeah. Oh my God. Callie Zavrenko says, this guy, and happy birthday again, Callie. This guy's the type of person who stares at themselves in a mirror as they bang someone. Yeah.
And like this ties in a bit to this ties in a bit too to I think the male loneliness thing that we're always kind of talking about recurrently, both here and on the Discord. Just when your world when you orient the world to where everything's an object for you to dominate, then you get really you don't build reciprocal relationships, and then you turn 35, and if you haven't been a nice person socially and you've been eating this kind of brain poison, you've alienated everyone you know.
Yeah. I mean, the funny thing about this too, and I know there's some like, I'm not a scientist or anthropologist or epidemiologist, but I watched that new Netflix thing on blue zones and read a couple books about it. And it is interesting that if you look at the people in the world who actually live the longest, who actually live longer than everyone else, they're not like super rich people. They're people that live in communities where they like move a lot, they hang out with other people, they eat pretty healthy food, and they have some sort of spiritual practice that bonds them to other people. Like, we know that that's what helps people live a long time. The opposite of this shit. Like, there's, Sardinians who just like walk around and like, make of the sauce and eat of the pasta and go to mass and hang out with mom, who are going to totally outlive this guy. We know that sort of like decentering the self and becoming a part of a community has a positive effect on you. We know, like, they've done so many studies on this, that people that like volunteer live longer and are happier. Why? Because they're sort of, using their own self in an egoless way to prioritize the subjectivity of others. Guys. And then Hector says living long is also a game of chance with genes. For sure. That's why I got 70 max. Like the stream. Why so few likes? Yeah, guys. Like the stream. It's, it's hard. To Lucy Maybe's comment here. I don't like to every 2 seconds say like the stream. But please do. Please. So let's keep reading this article. So the 41-year-old Gerner, Jesus Christ, I would love to slap this guy. Parody. The 41-year-old Gerner, yeah, valued at $929 billion in the Australian Financial Review's rich list, and who billionaire Henry Triguboff, as described as the future, has $10 billion worth of apartments underway. He has grand plans for his $150 million high-end health, wellness, and anti-aging brand St. Haven. Another site is planned around Melbourne's. Okay, I don't live in Australia, so none of these neighborhoods mean anything to me. Studies have shown that people that become Wisecrack patrons, that's probably true. Someone said I should volunteer. I mean, like, we like all should. We should. I haven't been doing it recently. I used to do more of that stuff. I kind of don't. Leah Nightingale's working on blue zones in the environment for UK right now. It's the best. The things that make life worth living are not the best thing. Yeah, thanks for that, Leah. And if you have Netflix, and like, I was like, fuck Netflix, they're fucking people over right now, yada yada yada. The blue zone thing's pretty interesting. It's a little hokey, but I find it generally interesting, and I actually do like the idea that the real key to like health and longevity isn't spending millions of dollars at this fucking asshole's capitalist spirituality dojo. It's living in community with others and like eating vegetables, drinking some wine, and making sure you move. I don't know. I think that sounds better. Okay, Kiwi One's helping us know that they are in the rich suburbs. There you go. So they said we can do 6 or 7 in Melbourne. Australians, I'm trying to respect you and say Melbourne because I know that's how you say it. About 8 in Sydney, 1 in the Gold Coast, 1 in Brisbane. And then we'll go overseas starting in LA. Oh, guys, I'm going to make you a promise right now. So everyone tune in, like this right now before I say this, really focus. If this guy starts one of these in LA, we'll do a live stream where I go remote and I do something. I throw dog shit at the window, I streak out front, I piss on the door, just something. I'll do that for you. That's all I got to say. Oh God. But that makes sense because LA people would do this. The ambitious Gerner tells us it's very much a passion, but it's a serious business too. Gerner tells me he's starving. The guy who wants you to be unemployed and broke and begging for money from your boss is starving. Before guiding me to the restaurant, where he has brought a small house-crafted protein bar, I afford myself a more generous meal, including beef and liver sausages with black rice and various superfoods. Gerner says the club's partly a response to the stuffy male-only social clubs, a real gender hero, across Melbourne and Sydney, and an alternative to Soho House, which he says celebrates drinking at its core. These people make me want to drink more because it's all the worst people now that are like, oh, I don't drink because it's bad for you. EKR, we'll go to Glendale and fuck it up. Yellow Brick Road Executive Chairman Mark Boris is another to form a new social club, the Club of United Business. Oh, man. Remember when clubs were just like old Italian men playing bocce ball and drinking wine out of little cups? That's fun. Sapphic, what's up? Good to see you. Yeah. Let's see. Chris Maverick says, I want you to embed if you enroll cash. Maybe we could do that. If they do it, we could crowdfund me infiltrating the thing. Someone brought up fava beans and a nice Chianti. Oh, I would love that. He says his clubs will be social and for networking, but put health and wellness at their core. That's when he says he wants to live to 100. Why do the worst people just want to stay alive forever? It turns out he's become increasingly obsessed with staying young, and he came close to financial ruin. We want you to live to 100, but not just live to 100, but live to 100 feeling amazing. That's the aim. Do you think he wants everyone to feel good? Do you think he wants all people? He says he's one of the guinea pigs for the club's $250,000 biohacking anti-aging packages that include an annual full-body MRI, brain scans, and monthly blood testing. I don't want to be hyperbolic, guys. I don't want to be hyperbolic. Oh, yeah, Chris Maverick in Pittsburgh. There are lots of Italians that like things like bocce there. That's fun. Sorry to dox you, but it's very well known that you're a professor in Pittsburgh. If anyone Googled you, they would know. So I didn't. It's not on me. Like, it's gonna be a core group of super rich people that biohack their bodies to try to outlive the rest of us. Like, lifespan is gonna become such a class oriented thing, which is crazy. He says, I get about 250 different tests of my bloods, which will say this month you're deficient in vitamin D. Your testosterone is up or down. Then the physios, dietitians, doctors on call set my regime. I take about 50 or 60 tablets a day. So, I mean, like, if one of those tablets was arsenic, how would you find it? There's 50 or 60. How are you gonna find that one? It's always very specific to my latest results. The Collingwood Club, which includes a concierge to iron your clothes or polish your shoes while you shower in vitamin C infused water. That sounds like bullshit. Are there any scientists here? That just sounds like a thing. That sounds like vitamin C infused water. That can't be a thing. You shower in vitamin C? Are you telling me if I spill orange juice on myself, I'm healthier? I know we have some science people here. That can't be real. Mitch Connor says annual MRIs, having one with insurance, nearly bankrupt. Yeah, man. Horrible. It's too many pills. Too many pills. Club is limited to 500 members. All of them vetted. Most are age 30 and 50. And they can't use mobile phones or alcohol. I think these people need to drink. The staff, all dressed in white, repeatedly ask how I'm feeling. I wonder how the staff is paid. Do you think the staff gets to use the services there? Do you think? I tell them amazing. And check that they won't drug the members. Like, oh, I didn't know that's the plot of that. Spoilers. Gerner laughs but adds, I knew this was coming. I said this before, guys. I said this before, that these same people always find a way to work hallucinogens. A thing that can be used to dissolve the ego and make people reach a level of consciousness that takes them outside themselves and think of themselves as part of a communal and a meshed whole. But Gerner laughs and adds, we've got some semi-hallucinogenics, like an amazing drink made out of kava. It's a natural drug. Kava's not, oh boy. We were having a conversation with members about whether they want some medicinal alcohol. So there's things like 100% agave tequilas. So yeah, so now fucking now Casamigos is going to be their new medicine. Like, guys, if you want to have alcohol, it's fine, but you don't have to be like, oh, George Clooney got us the medicinal tequila, guys. Man on couch, thank you so much. Okay, so someone said vitamin C infused water might exert an effect on your microbiome. That's good to know. Let's see. I'm just checking the chat. Sapphic loves a good hallucinogen, but I don't think the funds. Damn it, man! Fix your audio. Is there anything I can do to the audio, Henry? Is there anything on my end? I think I'm about to discover something horrible.
We are about to discover.
No, let me see. What can I do? Should I unplug it and plug it back in? Is that the move?
I don't want Discord to then switch to another source, and then you're switching around Discord like in real time, and we have a whole technical thing.
I mean, it will. Let's just do it. I'm gonna do it real quick. Okay, guys, you might not hear me.
10. Please stand by. And we're back.
Okay. I don't know. So let's get back to this. Each member will be given an aura ring to monitor their health and a gold medallion and stylish black wristband. You know who wore stylish? Oh no, there were armbands. I was gonna make a Nazi joke. I was gonna talk about these people being kind of like Nazi eugenicists, trying to create a master race. I was gonna say it. That they hope they'll use to identify fellow members outside the. I cheekily asked Gerner if he's trying to start a cult. It'll be quite cult-like. The people who have joined are very serious about changing their life. Can you imagine just trying to talk to any of these people? Like, they have to be the worst hangs. Oh, wait, I can respond on Discord? We do have a Discord server. Oh, this is good. He denies it'll be a club only for executives, claiming he will scale many of the anti-aging techniques that have been the exclusive realm of the uber rich for a broader audience with a basic entry membership starting at $150 a week. Guys, I make a solid amount of money. You know, I'm not rich, but I make like a solid amount of money. I couldn't afford $150 a fucking week for something like this. That'd be insane. Ballin with a hand gesture to reveal the ring. And P said nightmare blunt rotation. Only if it was in medicinal blunt. It's not just a superstar business elite. We've got an incredible musician who will be a member. We've got one of the top bankers in Australia. Guys, he said it's not just the superstar business elite. And then the second example he uses is one of the top bankers in Australia. We've got a jewelry store owner, an artist and a restaurant owner, a completely diverse mix. We got bankers, we got jewelry store owners, we got restaurant owners, we got diversity at the wazoo. This is 69 Coke commercial. Oh boy. Whitney pointed out that's cheaper than health insurance, which is crazy. Oh guys, by the way, Wisecrack's Patreon, $150 a week, and you're gonna live forever. Join. So there you go. I'll just finish it. He says, despite Gerner not revealing AFR Weekend by chance connects with one not far from the club who's been waiting since the original opening date. Fashion stylist Jen Mancuso says she was accepted after an interview. As a busy fashion stylist, I want to be independent and healthy as my mother was into her 80s. Having an all-in-one holistic approach to wellness really appealed to me. That's a weird way to end the article. Like if I was the editor, I wouldn't just end it on this quote from Jen Mancuso. But there you go, guys. We went down the rabbit hole of this guy. Should we just bookend this whole thing by watching the video one more time?
Yeah.
I kind of think
let me cue that up.
Yeah, you cue that up. If you're just tuning in, if you've tuned in before we show the clip again, this rabbit hole started when Slicked Back CEO and casual spiritual eugenicist Gerner Group guy said that we're all trash. Yeah, Chris Maverick says he thinks the jewelry store owner is poor. Yeah, you don't get poor selling blood diamonds. Man on the Couch says, will subbing to the Patreon cause Deborah to let me come? So we don't have, hey, Maeve, what's up? It's definitely Thursday already. We don't have the Patreon level yet where I go to Deborah's house and apologize for you. But I think it's a step in the right direction. I think Deborah might let you come home. So there you go. Kate or Kat's here. Good to see you. Okay, one more time, guys. Let's watch this together, knowing all that we know about this guy. One more time. What's up, Drift King 305 from Miami?
He is a certified blood boy guy.
Yeah. Okay. Or we'll press play in 1, 2. Oh, you do the count.
I think the problem that we've had is that we have people decided that they didn't really want to work so much anymore through COVID, and that has had a massive issue on productivity. Tradies have definitely pulled back on productivity. They have been paid a lot to do not too much in the last few years.
Curtis.
And we need to see that change. We need to see unemployment rise. Unemployment has to jump 40, 50% in my view. We need to see pain in the economy. We need to remind people that they work for the employer, not the other way around. There's been a systematic change where employees feel the employer is extremely lucky to have them, as opposed to the other way around. So it's a dynamic that has to change. We've got to kill that attitude, and that has to come through hurting the economy, which is what the whole global, the world is trying to do. The governments around the world are trying to increase unemployment to get that to some sort of normality. And we're seeing it. I think every employer now is seeing it. I mean, there is definitely massive layoffs going off. People might not be talking about it, but people are definitely laying people off, and we're starting to see less arrogance in the employment market, and that has to continue because that will cascade across the cost balance.
His hair is literally Bela Lugosi's from Dracula. Like, he is.
Listen, guys,
he's a vampire.
This is what millions of dollars of health, wellness, and spiritual enlightenment will get you. We'll start to move away from this. Whitney in the chat said, I'm going to work health insurance. Mine last year was $750 a month. The year before, $650. My public school teacher's mom's is $650. I mean, yeah, I think right now, ever since I added my wife and daughter to my work health insurance, I think I pay $880 a month for insurance. And again, this is maybe fun for the non-American. I have health insurance via work. About $800 a month of my paycheck goes to that insurance. And then every time I go to the doctor, I also get a bill. Like I have that insurance, and I had to go to urgent care a couple months ago, and I got a bill for $4. So things are going well. Yeah, someone says MD Hatter said, I see why this caused a rabbit hole. Tough stuff to be hearing. So, there you go. There you go, guys. We went down that rabbit hole. Okay, so we'll a little break for station identification right now. This is Wisecrack Live. It's Michael Burns. I'm here with producer Henry. As always, follow Wisecrack on Twitter or X if you still hang out on a website that's run by Nazi apologist. Did anyone see the apology Twitter did? We talked about this last week. That was like the tweet they had to edit 20 times. That was like, we think Nazis are bad. It's like, you shouldn't have to say that. I've never in my life had to make a statement about how I think Nazis are bad. You want to know why? Because my behavior hasn't indicated that Nazis are good. But there you go. Damn, we've only had 74 likes for an hour. What are we doing?
74 likes?
I'm going to say it. It hurts my feelings. We have 489 people watching, only 74 likes.
I see 301 on my end, but yeah.
Okay.
Let's still get it over 400, especially if we're at 481, 491.
A month, Peter Zeke. A month. Yeah, Leah Nightingale from the UK. I mean, like, I know the NHS is going through it right now, and I haven't lived in 5 years now, but I lived in the UK for a while, and I very much liked it. I very much liked my experiences there. My only experience I didn't like using the NHS in the UK is once I was sick and I had to pee in a cup. And in the US, when you pee in a cup at the doctor, you normally like put it in a little like door where you don't see a person give it. But I like brought it into this doctor's office and like put my piss on his desk. And I just felt weird about that, bringing a cup of piss into a doctor's desk. Okay, cool. So we got some more likes. That's fine. But again, it's Wisecrack Live. We're getting back into the groove of things. For the time being, if you do want to catch the stream, plan on Wednesdays. We started at 10 a.m. Pacific time last week. We did 11 this week. 10 will probably be the regular time that we do this. As you can see, if you were watching before I became father figure to you all and to my actual daughter, we're in a studio now. So you probably recognize this from such videos as every fucking video for the past like 5 years. So there you go. And again, if you want to be a member of the YouTube channel, you can. If you want to join our Patreon, you can. And as always, doing things like watching our videos leaving comments, liking, subscribing. It really helps us. I'll just say it. I'll say that it really helps us. And I think we're in a place right now where we're doing okay. But I'll be honest with you guys. I'll be honest. A lot of the like content producing and digital content brands of our company have been shut down recently. So I want us to keep going. So if you like what we do, try to support us if you can. Leah, yeah, sometimes I regret leaving the UK. Sometimes I don't, but sometimes I do. Man on Couch, we love you too. And Kata Thielman from Chile. Hello. Chile is fun. Chile's a great place. Let's see. Sean, thank you. Okay, so this was a deep thing, guys. I wore a Henley today because there was a discussion last week about Henleys and me wanting to become a guy, but then me feeling like I couldn't become a Henley guy because Johnny Harris wears appropriated Johnny Harris's sartorial sensibilities. But Sean noticed because I put this on today and I was just like, is anyone going to call me out for it? Yeah, we're supposedly making more. We supposedly are making more Wisecrack. So hopefully that can happen. I'm trying to think of what we should talk about. It's like, do we want to go dark? I would love to watch the trailer that Henry's loaded, but every time the trailer, we then get copyrighted.
Yeah, we do have that Richard Linklater quote on culture, as well as that Wisconsin story. If we want to tread a little lighter,
Yeah,
because
well, let's start with the Linklater thing.
Sure, I'll pull that up.
Oh my God, Natasha's wearing a Wisecrack hoodie. That's awesome. Audio is still choppy. I'm sorry. We'll try to get the audio better next time. It could be because also, guys, that my computer sucks. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Input mode. Should I check out voice settings? I'm not gonna fuck with it now, guys. We'll try to figure. Appreciate you. I genuinely. Yeah. Richard Linklater, guys, director, maker of films. Some you have seen. Some about Before the Sunset, After the Dawn, The Sunset, Sunrise, things like that. Movies like Slacker. Would you say so Henry, first of all, what do you are people from Austin, like, do you say like Austonians or something?
Austinite?
Austinite? Okay, cool. Tim Rouse said, what is the history of Wisecrack? Let me give a really quick history of Wisecrack.
Huh.
Wisecrack started 8 or 9 years ago. A few dudes, Jared, Jacob, eventually Todd, got together. They wanted to start making videos. They started making some concepts a little bit more character based, like Thug Notes, and Aliens Guide. And they did this one that was Boss Bitches in History, where these 2 adult film actors did this thing. It was kind of weird and it didn't last very long. Eventually, they started doing video essays on media analysis and stuff like that, largely hosted by Jared, read by a team, written by a bunch of freelancers. I got involved 6 years ago, as did most of the people who help run the channel now, doing writing, eventually hosting. Slowly the channel transitioned to doing some on-camera stuff. That's when Jared started going on camera. Then I started going on camera. Then you started seeing Helen, who we love. At one point, Wisecrack, that was owned by the 3 guys, gets sold to a company called Omnia Media. Omnia Media then gets sold to a company called Enthusiast Gaming. Before, and then sometime, let's think, early 2000, so at this point, one of the founders has already left. Eventually, I took over as the primary host, and everything is good now. Everything is good. Oh yeah, and we have our lore doc. So if anyone wants to, add lore, we can do it there. Okay, so Richard Linklater, and wait, was it Austinite?
Yeah, Austinites.
And someone, at least I think of as a non-Austinite, as very key to like the Austin indie film scene. I think of a movie like Slacker as doing something so cool and unique, and it seemed very grounded in like Austin culture. Oh, is that early 2000s? That was the 90s. Sorry, Chris. Representative of Gen X, Chris Maverick, put me in check. Let's see. Okay, so in this Hollywood Reporter thing, it says, you're such a pioneer of American cinema. Do you think a career like the one you've cut out for yourself and enjoyed is possible? How do you view the current state of American movie making coming out of the pandemic? And guys, one of our next videos, the one that's kind of about Guardians of the Galaxy 3, deals with this. So, you'll want to check that out. And he says, it feels like it's gone with the wind or gone with the algorithm. Spoons for Hire, we have a video coming out on debate on Friday. Oh, I called Wisecrack early 2000. My bad. 2020. Yeah. Oops. Linklater goes on to say, sometimes I'll talk to some of my contemporaries who I came up with during the 90s and we'll go, oh my God, we could never get that done today. So on the one hand, selfishly, you think, I guess I was born at the right time. I was able to participate in what always feels like the last era for good filmmaking. And then you hope for a better day, but man, the way distribution has fallen off. Sadly, it's mostly just the audience. Is there a new generation that really values cinema anymore? That's the dark thought. That's very sad because we like cinema. We like art. We like when art exists. I was listening to a movie podcast in the middle of the night when I couldn't sleep, and someone made the quote, "See you, Michael. Good seeing you." One of the hosts said something to the effect of like, it's easier to make a movie than ever, and it's harder to sell a movie than ever. And to me, it seemed like there was some definite truth to that. Like you can make a thing now, but it's very hard to make money off of get the out there. Would you say is that relative to some of your experiences as someone who works in this stuff, Henry?
Yeah, as someone who's done like a lot of no budget filmmaking, that's a strong agree. I mean, yeah, digital technology and just ease of like nonlinear editing programs makes pretty much anything easy to kind of cut and do at home if you have the kind of the will and the know-how. But yeah, it's to who's going to see it, to who's going to purchase it. Like, are you going to be able to incur that cost through other means of making money?
Yeah, and in the chat too, I'm curious. Like the people, I don't know how much. I mean, yeah. So someone said I've been too busy to watch film. I'm curious in the chat, like how much do people watch? How much is like watching movies part of your cultural life? And I'm actually curious
Yeah.
if everyone feels like sharing. I just want to know, like, I'm curious what people's what culture do we consume? Is it just that we're watching videos online? Are we listening to podcasts? Are we listening to music? Are we watching TV shows? Are we reading books? Are we reading comic books? Are we playing video games? Are we watching movies? I'm just curious because I do feel sometimes like, things have moved. Because I'll give a personal confession. I would say that I am embarrassed and ashamed about the amount of time I spend listening to podcasts versus the amount of time I spend listening to music. That's
Yes.
just a confession, and it genuinely horrifies me. I will listen to people talk about shit that doesn't really matter, that I don't need to know about, that doesn't teach me anything new, and it's almost like just the droning of human voices rather than listening to music, which might be creatively interesting. You sound like you relate to that, Henry.
Yeah, I definitely feel like I used to just ingest albums in whole, just in a different way than any sort of music delivery now really accommodates, and that I do listen to like a lot of chatterboxes online as far as pods go because it seems I don't know. It seems to facilitate a mode of thought where I'm like, I need something on in the background, whereas I do remember more consciously listening to music with intent. And I guess because
Yeah.
I associate music with that, I'm always like, oh, I want to set aside like an evening to listen to an album. Whereas like I'm always like, oh, I'll just throw a pod on in the background while I do X, Y, or Z.
Yeah. And someone said, yeah, offset ways is that I switched to podcasts instead of music when I worked out. Yeah, I think same thing. Like I used to go walks and listen to music. Sometimes I go on walks and I was listening to podcasts. I don't know, man. Let's read the rest of this. I'm gonna go to the second slide of the Linklater quote. It says, I have a film society. I run into so many young cinema loving kids who have the Criterion channel, watch all kinds of movies, but I know that culturally that's an exception. I fear that there's not enough of a critical mass in the culture to sustain what was. But who knows? I don't think I have any deeper analysis than anyone else would. And it's not in my nature to make huge statements about whether it's all over. I just feel like we're all treading water and hoping we don't drown. Going to the next one, I realized I said the word drown, like drowned. So I'm just making fun of myself before you make fun of me. Goes on to say, with a changing culture and changing technology, it's hard to see cinema slipping back into the prominence it once held. I think we could feel it coming on when they started calling films content. But that's what happens when you let tech people take over your industry. It's hard to imagine indie cinema in particular having the cultural relevance that it did. It's hard to imagine the whole culture is going to be on the same page about anything, much less filmmaking. We can be self absorbed and say it's just about cinema, but it's really all of our modern cultural life. You could say the same thing about reading books. A lot of young people can't really read books because they're just on their phones. And I know that sounds like a grumpy old man thing to say, but I don't know. I'm 38 years old and I often don't read books because I stare at my fucking phone all day. And the point about content, I think, is really apt. I think there's one more slide of this. He said, some really intelligent, passionate, good citizen. What an empathetic and nice guy. He could be so much meaner here. Just don't have the same need for literature and movies anymore. Doesn't occupy the same space in our brain. I think that's just how we've given over our lives, largely to this thing that depletes the need for curating and filling ourselves up with meaning from art and fictional worlds. That need has been filled up with, let's face it, advanced delivery systems for advertising. And of course, like again, that's what YouTube is. This entire website's designed to deliver ads to you, and all of the content, this included, is incidental to the primary goal of serving you algorithmically curated ads. Um, it's sad, but what can you do? I also don't want to go through life thinking our best days are behind us. That's just not productive. What a good attitude. So, in your own area, you just have to persist and do what you can on behalf of the things that you believe in. You have to believe that everything can change and that things can go back to being a little better. Isn't that what we all want for everything these days, from democracy on down? Can't we just go back to being a little better? Fucking A, man. I think that's a really
Yeah,
good quote.
I think maybe due to his age and relationship with like culture and how he interacts with the internet, he may be missing out on some younger Zoomer stuff that I think keeps me from being as cynical. But I do agree with his overall point and his concluding. Can't we just go back to being a little better? Like that echoes a very uh, just warm idea that I think also resonates in his work as far as like just like hey, like you can still like have a moment.
Yeah. Chris Maverick makes this point that he would argue that it's not actually weird that we listen to podcasts more now. The greater music listening that we Gen X and millennials did was a historic aberration. Yeah, I mean, it's true as well that like when I was a kid, if I ever got in the car with my dad, it was just like sports radio, so just dudes talking.
I feel like
So it's not totally new.
at the height of like rock and roll and like a lot of the 60s and 70s music stuff, like DJs and radio play and kind of curated shows were like a huge dominant thing as well.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I'm gonna try to thread the needle and wrap up all the themes of our show today. Before I do that, again, Wisecrack Live, Michael Burns, producer Henry, all of you, the wonderful community that we have here. I really mean that. I really like you. I really like interacting with you in the chat. I really have missed this when we've been gone. Like the stream if you haven't. But here's what I'm thinking. When we think about someone like Mr. Gerner, the evil businessman who wants us to all starve, do we think this is a person who sits down and watches cinema? Do we think this is someone who is reading novels? Do we think this is someone who like pulls out, I don't know, like Bob Dylan or Bill Evans on vinyl and gives it a listen? Is this someone who reads poetry? I don't know. I really don't know that. So whatever. But I do think that there is a connection between experiencing art, and note that I'm going to say experiencing art and not consuming content, because content is one-way interaction. If content goes in our little brain trash can, where I think experiencing art involves an intersubjective experience between us as someone who's experiencing a thing that's created by someone else. Their subjectivity lives inside of that art, and we meet in the middle and we interact with it. Example of that being, I hear a song that someone wrote about something sad they went through. As I listen to it, I connect to something and inject my own experiences onto that, and it becomes something that's alive for me. I watch a film, and the film is about heartbreak, but the character's heartbreak becomes about my heartbreak. Or even I watch a movie like Office Space, and the alienation experienced by the workers in that reflects my own feelings of alienation and actually makes me feel like less alone and makes me feel like I'm not crazy to think that things are weird in the world. Um, And I think that that's a part of what's going on here, right? Because when Linklater talks about this, of course, it is bad. It is bad if cinema goes away. It's bad if we don't have movies and books and music anymore. And that's bad in and of itself. But I wonder if the effect that art and humanistic pursuits has on us as people is also super important for our social and political engagement. And if that's maybe a big risk of what's happening here. Natasha says, so empathy. Giovanni, thanks for being here. Really appreciate it. So that's kind of what I'm thinking about. And that's maybe how I will, you know, try to thread the needle of the Linklater thing we looked at. And the whole later, I looked that up. And if you're here, if you've never heard his name before, really good filmmaker. So go look up the films of Richard Linklater.
What's your favorite?
Watch them. I am still gonna say. Wait, I'm really embarrassed right now.
I can
Dazed and Confused, right?
Yeah, I was about to say I can drop a bombshell.
I think it's probably Dazed and Confused as like a pure enjoyment thing. And then I don't know, as an artifact of culture, I still just fucking love Slack. I love it so much. How about you?
I have a very, very soft, I have a huge soft spot for Fast Food Nation. Just what it's trying to grasp at, and the just tonally what it's doing with, and still being within Linklater's style. And the argument it's getting at too, I think is still very worth examining, especially with the way child labor laws are going now.
Yeah. In the chat piece brought up Boyhood. Beatmaster says, "What does Michael think about Waking Life?" He likes it. Mikey likes it.
Yeah, I like that one too.
So maybe to yeah. So maybe to tie this all together with you now, because let's have an intersubjective experience. Let's have a theme for our What Are You today. For today's What Are You, let's all share some piece of culture that you think, and not content, some culture that's helped you in that way, that's made you feel human, that's given you some sense of connection to something outside yourself, that's made you feel more like a person. If that's okay. But I want to look up something that I was going to. Why am I forgetting the name of it right now? So it could be a movie, it could be a book, it could be music. I think that okay. So I'm gonna say the album Wide Awake by Parquet Courts. There's elements of that album that I think are really affirming and tap into anger about gentrification and climate and all sorts of stuff, tap into personal issues of dealing with toxic masculinity and issues with family. I don't know. But I'm gonna say that album, Wide Awake by Parquet Courts. It's not a new album, but I come back to some of those songs. Anything you want to throw out there for our human connectivity? What are you?
Yeah, I know it gets mentioned. It's been mentioned quite frequently on our Discord, and it does have quite a cult. But the cartoon, The Venture Brothers, both because it's something that has been going at its own, that went at its own pace. It recently wrapped. There was a finale movie released 2 months back. It was really excellent. I highly suggest checking it out, but it won't make sense if you haven't seen the whole series. But just that show's been running, and on a metatextual level, it's just the authors have been allowed to kind of go at their own pace with it. Adult Swim's been very generous with them, and they've been allowed to kind of go at their own pace. The way it deals with being at first a Johnny Quest parody, and the way it turns that into a whole essay on just the retrofuturism of the late 20th century and the failures of that, and then how it goes from being a parody and a satire talking about that as a failure to going to morphing into being about its characters surviving and growing and getting past that phase. I think it's just a piece of late American 20th century geek culture that understands it in a very humanistic and I mean, dare I say, emotional and spiritual way. Kind of the stuff that makes geek culture sacred to geeks, I feel it really taps into in a way that like a lot of corporate and commercial taking of Marvel properties and superhero cinema in general does not.
That's amazing, and definitely people watch that if you haven't. A lot of good stuff in the chat too. I see. I'll shout out. Aaron in particular saw a Sigur Rós in concert. I think you're Icelandic, so that's crazy. But Sigur Rós, a band who the first time I saw them live, I bawled my eyes out because of the beauty about it. I mean, there's a reason why, like, in the movie like Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou, Wes Anderson uses a Sigur Rós song in a really important scene and a really emotional scene, and a scene where even if some of that movie didn't work for you, I think it still kind of worked. Oh, so much good stuff being shared here. So yeah, take a look through. Someone said Andor. Andor is so good, and we don't need to get into this, but when I was watching, I've been watching Ahsoka, and I'm just like, how is this an Andor in the same universe of
Yeah,
things?
same.
Ooh, yeah. Oh, so we're at Kid Cudi, man. Yeah, Kid Cudi was like, especially at a time when Kid Cudi came out, was offering like vulnerability that not a lot of hip hop music was.
I have one more, and it's just the
Yeah,
Evolution Fighting Game Championship. Evo started as, a internet 1.0 collection of nerds playing fighting games, tournament style, and over my adult life has grown into this huge event that there's the Capcom Cup this year, I think is like a $2 million pot. I need to double check the number on that. But just
Jesus.
seeing that culture grow over the course of the past 2 decades, it's made me think a lot about like maturity in hobbies and what we view as adults. And also like as a fighting game, it's an interesting culture of like who's in it for self improvement, who's in it for domination, and what those kind of narratives end up intertwining and becoming. Video game sports are very interesting to me.
Hell yeah. I'll shout out Outright Tiny for choreographing dances, the Sigur Rós songs. That sounds amazing. And I'm gonna break from this is a what aria that I won't say made me feel. I've seen 3 movies since I've had a child. I saw one over the weekend. I saw Bottoms, one of the best pure comedies I've seen in such a long friggin' time. If you like movies, you like comedies, Bottoms is so good. And I'll even say that like one of the people in that movie I've always loved, one I've always found really obnoxious, and I fucking walked out of that being like this. It's just so funny. So see that if you can. Um, oh yeah, Angel Olsen. Okay, lots of good stuff coming through. Keep those going. We're gonna wrap up. If you have not liked the stream yet, please do. Feel free to set a reminder. Know if you're watching this after the fact. We archive all these as VOD. You can comments. It's often some of the people that are really snarky at that point, but then a lot of you are there, and it's good as well. I'll check those out. Then give a lot of thanks and praise to producer Henry here. I'm not doing a ton these days. I'm getting back into the flow, and this is happening because of Henry, both in terms of finding our topics, getting everything ready to go, making it look and sound good. So please give him some love in the chat on the way out. And we will see you next Wednesday back here on Wisecrack Live. And of course, check out the Patreon and stuff like that too. Follow us on Twitter, yada yada. We'll see you next week, guys.
Thanks for joining us all. See you next week.